morning sun shines on the gleaming hide of a muscular ranch horse. The aroma of bacon and coffee drifts from the wood cook stove at a cow camp. Silver spurs jingle as the men and women of the West get set for another day in the saddle. From the heart of Canada's finest ranching country, this is the Spirit of the West with rancher and horse trainer Hugh McLennan and his collection of music, poetry, and conversations with the folks who live and work with horses and cattle in the Spirit of the West.
You know, even on a not-so-great day of riding, it beats a bad day doing anything else. As we prowl the pastures trying to avoid the boggy ground, keeping an eye out for that big mother bear and her cubs, and wait a minute, those are cougar tracks on the trail, and oh yeah, you just about rode through another hornet's nest and on it goes, but this week, you'll hear about something even more dangerous.
Golfers should watch out for themselves. At least that's my belief, and yelling "4" after the ball hit them didn't seem to bring him much relief.
Mel Brown will be in the Cowboy Poetry Spotlight today with Cowboy Golf. And when a Western wear outfit asked Baxter Black to performance test a brush jacket, well, he did a pretty good job of it.
I was drugged through a wet field of corn stubble by 2 3-year-old colts, and finally I lay underneath a '69 Ford pickup while they changed the oil.
And that's not all he did. You'll hear the rest of that story in a little while. On the Rangeland News, well, are you getting tired of the negativity about the pandemic? Well, I'm getting tired of even talking about it, but we're still covering it.
Overall meat prices up 3.9% during April, and it breaks down this way.
Gary Crawford has the information on what's going on in the meat industry on the Rangeland News. And on the Urban Saddles and Western Wear horse training file, a listener figured his horse needed a bath, but when he tried to wash him off with a garden hose, all heck broke loose. I'll tell you what he could have done to avoid the trouble. And there's some fascinating history of the West, in particular special horses, and I'll bring back a conversation with longtime cowboy, writer, historian, and pasture manager Tom Reardon today.
Pretty good for a horse born out in the hills in Canada. Ended up in the Royal Stables.
Lots of special music coming up, and we'll start with a darn good cowboy and songwriter that we lost way before his time, Tony Reed.
I'm just an old cowboy. I'm just an old cowboy living on borrowed time, and I don't claim to be nobody but me. I sing my best songs for you, 'cause that's what my heart tells me to do. That's all that matters to me. My life, it suits me fine. I take one day at a time, and I work until the job gets done, you see. I can't complain, life's been good to me. The highs, the lows, and the in-betweens, and that's all that matters to me. Yeah, I'm just an old cowboy, happy to be me. Like a book, don't judge me by the cover that you see. Yeah, I'm just an old cowboy, I'm proud of who I am. The storms of life may throw me, but I get back on again. An old cowboy. I'm just an old cowboy to face reality. But what's a good old boy if he can't dream? In my dreams I'm a superstar, roping them steers at the NFR. If only I could still be 23. But I'm an old dog now, it seems, and I wouldn't change a thing. And I've made myself some real fine memories. when the good Lord calls to take me home and saddle my pony and let her roam, 'cause that's all that matters to me. Yeah, I'm just an old cowboy, happy to be me. Like a book, don't judge me by the cover that you see. Yeah, I'm just an old cowboy, proud of who I am. The storms of life may throw me, but I get back on again. I'm just an old cowboy.
Tom Reardon is the manager of the my-own community pasture in Saskatchewan, Cypress Hills, and he's a well-known figure in the world of rodeo. He's got a reputation as a rodeo historian, storyteller, and a writer, and he was involved in organizing the first Battle of the Little Big Puck hockey game over 25 years ago, and that is something. His articles in Canadian Cowboy Country magazine are just first class, and I caught up with Tom a few years back at the Heritage Ranch Rodeo at Farm Fair in Edmonton.
We were watching the ranch rodeo at the first part of Farm Fair, and you told me, I'm pretty sure it was you told me the story of a horse that I think John Baraback was riding, and something to do with the grandsire of that horse?
Yeah, well, John was mounted on a horse he calls Gus. You'd have to go back a lot of years now, but at one point in time when Fort Walsh was the ranch, the remount ranch for the RCMP musical ride, they had a stud there called Faux Pas. He'd won several races over in England and whatnot, and yet he had a pretty decent mind on him, and he was the right color, so they were using him for a stud there. And when the RCMP pulled out of Fort Walsh and moved their remount ranch to Ontario, Faux Pas was 20 years old then, and so they left him there. They left him with a neighboring rancher, Roger Parsonage, sort of with the understanding that anybody in the Cypress Hills that wanted to use his services could. And so anyway, there's a lot of horses in the country that are, it's third and fourth generation now, but they go back to Faux Pas. And the interesting part of it is the RCMP presented a horse to Queen Elizabeth way back when, a horse called Burmese. And Burmese became the Queen's favorite horse. Like, she rode her for 18 years in various parades and whatnot, and hasn't ridden in a parade since they retired Burmese. And anyway, they unveiled a statue of the Queen riding Burmese at Regina this year as a centennial project and everything. And this Gus horse that John was riding is related to the Queen's favorite horse through that way, because Burmese was a direct offspring of Faux Pas, whereas John's horse is fourth generation, but they both go back to Faux Pas.
Man.
So those bloodlines are fit for a queen. Actually, like, her retirement was on the grounds at Windsor Castle, and when she headed over the divide, the Queen had a statue made of her that's on the grounds of Windsor Castle. So Burmese did pretty good for a horse born out in the hills in Canada. Ended up in the royal stables.
Well, Tom talks about the special challenges facing the Cowboys and the special people of the land in the Cypress Hills when the Spirit of the West continues right after this. Welcome back to the Spirit of the West. The Cowboys of the North American West ride in a huge variety of country, from the community pastures of the Peace River country, the sagebrush hills of the Nicola Valley, the bluebonnet prairies of Texas, the wide open plains of Alberta, and many other places. But there's a spot in Saskatchewan that's close to cowboy heaven, the Cypress Hills, where Tom Reardon calls home.
That part of the country in the Cypress Hills and the Sand Hills around Maple Creek, we've been through there once or twice, and boy, to me that looks like pretty nice cattle country.
Well, I might be a bit prejudiced, but I think the only thing wrong with the Cypress Hills is there ain't enough of it.
Right.
Yeah.
People that haven't seen a whole lot of Saskatchewan talk about it just barren and flat as a tabletop, but that's not the case out there.
No, but it's darn good country, but it's filled with darn good people too. I don't know whether the people made the country or the country made the people, but it's a good combination.
I think so, and from what I've seen, there's some pretty darn good cowboys out there.
Yeah, Yeah, there's a lot of good cowboys out there. Some darn good working cowboys, and we got 3 guys from Maple Creek are in the CFR. They're not just arena cowboys, and they're not just working cowboys. They can Monday through Friday they can cowboy with the best of them out on the range, and Saturday and Sunday they can jump in an arena and be totally competitive too.
With the very best professionals.
Yeah, like William Barback, he was in the ranch rodeo on an all-cousin team, all-family team, goes back over 100 years, and he's also in the CFR, in the steer wrestling, plus he's in the High Point race. Right. All right off the same ranch sort of thing.
Man. And it's so nice to see these family traditions and this generation still carrying on. And I don't know how you look at it, Tom, but sometimes when I see the horsemanship and the savvy of the latest generation of these guys, I think sometimes they put us and maybe some of our ancestors to shame with what they can do.
Well, yeah, and these kind of guys going around putting on these clinics and whatnot, I don't want to be insulting anybody, but I'm pretty much an old timer myself, but I think it's getting better every day, my own opinion.
Yeah, it makes me feel good. I wish I would have known some of those things back when I was their age.
That's exactly right. Like you said, it makes you feel good. To me, it's a real good feeling.
Well, Tom has another amazing story about a rodeo bronc that finally came home. And, boy, we sure missed being at the main event in Red Deer in April. It had to be canceled, of course, and we are really looking forward to the one in Chilliwack this October. This is one of the songs that I seem to wind up playing at the Round Pan as the Trainer's Challenge gets underway every time we're there. If you've been there, it might bring back a memory. This is Terry Brown.
He was born to ride the rough ones. He'll live and die a tough one, but there's a whole lot more to him than you can see. He's simply complicated, overly underrated. He's everything a cowboy should be. He grew up in Wyoming, left his family and his home, and he hit the road to make a better life. At times he gets so lonely, but the adrenaline and coffee keep him searching for another bronc to ride. From Houston out to Cheyenne, with no guarantee that he'll win, just another chance to feed the fire that's burning deep inside. He'll pay to ride the devil, win a buckle for his trouble, then go searching for another bronc to ride. He's one win short of Vegas, but he knows that he'll make it, 'cause he's vowed to let his heart lead him on to the money and the glory, and the chance to have his story written into a damn good cowboy song. From Houston out to Cheyenne, with no guarantee that he'll win, just another chance to feed the fire that's burning deep inside. He'll pay to ride the devil, win a buckle for his trouble, then go searching for another bronc to ride. He was born to ride the rough ones. He'll live and die a tough one, but there's a whole lot more to him than you can see. He's simply complicated, overly underrated. He's everything a cowboy should be. He's everything a cowboy should be.
I was thinking of jumping right in there when Terry finished singing and getting on with the show, but then I thought folks are going to be saying, don't you dare interrupt that beautiful fiddle. So I'll let you hear the whole thing. Anyway, let's get back to the conversation with Tom Reardon.
And Tom, before I let you go, you faxed me a really interesting story about another horse, and I'm suffering from information overload this week, and I'm trying to remember the details of that story, but can you refresh a little bit of that for me?
Well, without having any of the facts in front of me, it's, I think are you referring to Coyote?
That's the one.
Yeah, well, Coyote was a horse that was raised by Bob and Dixie Black out in the Cypress Hills there, and they sold him as a 3-year-old. He was raised to be a bucking horse, and they sold him as a 3-year-old to the late Jerry Myers and his partners Don and Brenda Peterson, and Coyote bucked for 22 years. He was Canadian champion bareback horse in '85, and he, Lord knows how many CFR qualifications and NFR qualifications. And in '95, he was sold in a package of broncs that went down to Colorado to Surveys, and he bucked for a lot of years down there. And then Dan Black, Bob and Dixie's son, he was rodeoing down there, and he saw old Coyote and told his folks, and Bob just casually mused, it'd be nice if the old boy could retire and come back to the hills. And never thought nothing more of it, but the following winter Dan was down there and he got talking to Survey's associate, a guy named Steve Fexler, and explained the situation to him and offered to buy the horse off him, and Steve said, I'll let you know when the time is right. And after 22 years of bucking, Steve Fexler phoned Dan, and he said, this old boy's career is done. So Dan arranged to get him trucked back up here, and he arrived back in Canada on December 23rd.
And the story of Coyote's arrival resulted in a huge surprise, and the rest of that story is coming up very soon. And also, you're going to hear how Baxter Black went about performance testing a brush jacket. And I will gather together the Western Spirit Band, and we'll do another one of our virtual songs that we've been working on. And then lots of information coming up on the Rangeland News when the Spirit of the West continues right after this.
Howdy, friends. This is Baxter Black on Spirit of the West with Hugh McLennan, and I'll be right back after this with a little peek at a brush jacket testimonial.
Your land is a legacy, a challenge from those who tended it before you to build on their foundations. At Corteva AgriScience, we understand what it means to be the stewards of a legacy. We embrace the challenge of building on the foundation of Dow AgroSciences to maintain your trust, to bring new solutions, to help you care for your land. See how we can help build your legacy at rangeandpasture.com.
And for our Canadian listeners, just check corteva.ca, the Canadian website.
I was approached to do a testimonial by a maker of urban clothing named Land's End. They sent me a catalog with instructions to pick out anything I wanted. I chose a brush jacket. They're insulated and made out of canvas like wagon tarps or car hearts. These jackets are the standard uniform in cow country where mesquite thickets and other equally thorny, prickly, spiny, daggery menace awaits the dedicated cowboy. I put it to the test. At the next roundup, I donned my new jacket to gather cows with the crew in the dreaded Parsons pasture. I started in the lower arroyos, riding through 2 miles of mesquite, dagger yucca, ocotillo trunks, and crucifix thorns tall as a low windmill. It got so thick my horse was on his hands and knees trying to find the trail. Malicious thorns the size of pitchfork tines pierced my boot tops, my rhinoceros hide shafts, and my galvanized wrist cuffs. Cat claw big as the talons on an eagle, hooked and pulled at every piece of leather, flesh, or cloth that was exposed, leaving thousands of horizontal slashes and scrapes, shredding my tapaderas into ribbons, and spun my rails till they got so hot they set my boots on fire. And then we chased some cows out of a cholla forest, wicked cactus over the horse's head that breaks off, clings to you, and works its pins and needles through your clothing and into your skin. When you clear the forest, rider, horse, and cow are festooned with bratwurst-sized cholla chunks like Christmas ornaments on a hirsute manatee. Finally, for the sake of product integrity, I rolled through a pineapple field of barrel cactus, lay on the cattle guard, and let 2 loaded 20-foot stock trailers back over me slowly. I was drugged through a wet field of corn stubble by 2 3-year-old colts, and finally I lay underneath a '69 Ford pickup while they changed the oil. The results of my test? I lost 1 button. A remarkable testament to the durability and toughness of their great brush jacket, which I guess allows me to keep it. And that should help compensate for the burnt boots, melted spurs, shredded chaps, and 35 stitches. I only wish we could have found my other ear. This is Baxter Black on Spirit of the West with Hugh McLennan, brought to you by Corteva Agri-Science.
Even in these challenging times, nothing gives ranchers more satisfaction than seeing mother cows and their calves happy and healthy, because we care for our cattle. More and more producers are using meloxicam oral suspension to minimize the stress on calves at branding time. And remember to use it on baby calves under a week old, because they feel pain the same as the older calves do. When it comes to keeping those baby calves comfortable, nothing provides longer relief than meloxicam oral suspension. Proven results and healthier, happier calves. To find out more, contact your vet and see solvet.ca. Meloxicam, because it's the right thing to do. And for your spring application of an ivermectin type pour-on, well, how about the convenient 10-liter Solmectin from Solvet? It works great for extended internal parasites and an extended period of control for those nasty horn flies. And it's more economical than the 5-liter, but it's still really convenient to use. You know, every Sunday evening we watch for the email announcement that Tom Cole's next homebound concert is uploaded, and then we sit down in front of the big screen TV, crank up the home theater sound system, and thoroughly enjoy it. And thanks to Tom's production talent, I've been able to keep working with the Western Spirit Band, and even if we can't do these songs in front of a live audience on stage, we're doing them anyhow. This is one we just put together with a little help from Uncle Jim, Uncle Mike, bass player, little brother Jim on lead guitar, and Bo Hughes on steel, all backing me up. So maybe just try and pretend that we are live on stage and you're sitting in the audience, and I start out by introducing it. Well, as morning breaks on the ranch, the Cowboys head out for the area where the horses have been held overnight, and the cow boss assigns 1 horse to each rider for the day, except for 1 rider. And he'll be standing there waiting, and the cow boss will say, "No, I'm sorry, Hugh, you're not going to need a horse. You're not going to be riding today." "What?" "Nope, you're going to take the pickup over to the shop, and there you're going to find a whole bunch of fencing supplies like staples, steel, T-posts, and wire and hammers and fencing plier and all that stuff, because you're going to rebuild that fence along the south pasture on the mountainside. So thanks to our pal Dave Stamey, this guy might have these all day long. He's got a roll of rusty wire and a big old T-post driver. Had some pride, he don't know where it went. He's got a pair of post hole diggers, and it's hard for him to figure how he wound up out here building fence. He hired on as a rider, but they got him stretching wire. Cold out here, he thinks it's gonna rain. In this hard, rocky ground, he could hardly pound those T-posts down. This kind of life just grows against his grain. He's got those fence building blues. What a blow to his ego. He's wearing low-heeled shoes, and he's out here with those fence building blues. Well, the boss says get her done, but these old cross ties weigh a ton. He thinks he left his pliers in the barn. He's using yellow wire stretchers, and mister, you can betcha that old tampon bar is wearing out his arm. He's got those fence building blues. What a blow to his ego. He's wearing low-heeled shoes, and he's out here with those fence building blues. Well, this ain't the Western dream. It's insulting, it's demeaning. It's enough to make an old cowboy whine. They didn't even leave him a beer. Hell, he quit. There ain't nobody out here. The truck ain't coming back till supper time. He's got those fence building blues. What a blow to his ego. He's wearing low-heeled shoes, and he's out here with those fence building blues. Poor guy.
Hugh McLennan and the Great Western Spirit Band, along with Tom Cole and friends, will be at the Lido Theater in Fort St. John, BC for 2 shows. The crisp, clean music of the West, great guitar picking, spellbinding stories, and lots of laughs.
Where the sky goes on forever, where those prairie winds blows the cold and hard.
Tickets available online at thelido.ca or call 1-250-785-3011. Or you can go to the Lido in person on 100th Avenue in Fort St. John.
Dream riding, dreaming my troubles away. And to everyone who purchased tickets for Concert 83, scheduled originally for May 22nd and 23rd, thank you so much. Now, this probably isn't any surprise, but of course it has had to be rescheduled for September the 18th and 19th, one show each evening at 7 o'clock. You can have your tickets refunded, or you can keep them and have a head start on seating for September. You can call the Lido at 250-785-3011. Looking forward to seeing you in September.
The Rangeland News from the Spirit of the West. A roundup of issues and events from the world of agriculture.
At the top of page 1, it says, since the pandemic shut down in mid-March, retail food prices have jumped dramatically in some places, and Gary Crawford lines it all out for us.
The biggest monthly increase in grocery store food prices since February 1974.
Prices increased 2.7% from March to April.
Agriculture Department economist Gianna Short says with more Americans going to the grocery store for most all their food needs, the increased demand has caused disruptions in the normal farm-to-consumer food chain, and the new Consumer Price Index showing it, especially for meat. Overall, meat prices up 3.9% during April, and it breaks down this way.
Beef from March to April is up 4.2%. Pork is up 2.7%. Poultry is up 4.7%. And fish and seafood, 4.9%.
Part of these April increases coming from stores raising product prices, but also because
many stores have stopped doing specials,
which amounts to a price hike. Gianna Short had been forecasting only about a 1% hike in food prices this year, but
I will have to look very hard at the food at home forecast, based on these numbers.
Gary Crawford for the U.S. Department of Agriculture.
Saskatchewan Agriculture Minister David Merritt announced $10 million to help livestock producers manage the COVID-19 pandemic effects. The funding includes $5 million for Saskatchewan's share of the federal-provincial set-aside program under Agri-Recovery, and that means Saskatchewan's livestock producers will now be able to access a total of $12.5 million under the program. And with that announcement, they say the deadline to buy calf price insurance is extended from May 28th to June 18th. So far, only about 6% of the marketable calf crop is insured. And currently, there are about 130,000 cattle backed up in feedlots as a result of reduced operating capacity at major beef processing plants in Alberta. And the government of Alberta will immediately increase the interim payment under agri-stability from 50% to 75% for the hog sector. And increasing the advance payment will result in about $20 per head for pork producers enrolled in the program. Well, next Sunday, June the 7th, the annual BC Kidney Walk gets underway at 11 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. Now, all kinds of volunteers, folks dealing with kidney disease, and their supporters will be taking part, and they are all getting sponsors. And, I know from firsthand experience that when your doctor tells you you have end-stage chronic kidney disease and are facing an unknown future, you really appreciate the support of the foundation. Now, if you're fortunate enough to receive a kidney transplant like I did, that means that you'll need to spend 2 or 3 months in Vancouver after the operation if you live in British Columbia. Well, we did, and the funds provided by the Kidney Foundation made it so that we didn't have to sell the ranch and all the horses to pay thousands of dollars to stay there. And the foundation does so much more. I'll be videoing my part of the kidney walk on video, and I'll be doing it the cowboy way. My horse will do the walking, and I'll share a few stories along the way, and you'll be able to see it on Facebook and on YouTube next week at that time. Now, the response that I've received has just been amazing at this point, and I know that times are really tough right now, so don't feel any obligation, but if you'd like to contribute any amount, no matter how small, just go to our website, hugh-mclennan.com, and you can do it right there. Next regular cattle sale at the BC Livestock Co-op Kamloops Yards is June the 9th, and the Vanderhoof Saddle Horse Sale on June 12th will be a direct sale for saddle horses only. And if you're looking to buy or sell a horse, contact Dakota at 250-524-0681. Meanwhile, the Innisfail Auction Market has regular cattle sales every Wednesday, starting at 9 o'clock with butcher cows and bulls, followed by feeder cattle. Get all the information at InnisfailAuctionMarket.com. Well, are you ready for the final item? You know that ancient parable about Chicken Little running around with the dire news has been quoted, agreed with, and scoffed at, especially during these trying times. I long remember reading that story to our kids when they were real small. I got to the part where Chicken Little goes up to the farmer and he says, "The sky is falling." And I stopped there and I said to the boys, "Now, what do you think the farmer said?" And Rod pipes up and says, "I think he said, 'Holy shit, a talking chicken.'" And that's the Rangeland News. Next on the Irvin Saddles and Western Wear Horse Training File, a look at how to help your horse handle the process of being washed off with a garden hose. More from Tom Reardon and more of that great music when the Spirit of the West continues right after this. Welcome back to the Spirit of the West. The Irvin Saddles and Western Wear Horse Training File is coming right up, and we'll look at how to wash a horse off with a garden hose without making him afraid of it. First, though. Okay, here's an update on the next Spirit of the West cruise, and as you have probably heard, we are making some changes. We have postponed what Billy and I are calling our Farewell Spirit of the West cruise until June of 2021. Okay, Big Rig, a little banjo music, please. We still expect to have just about everything we had planned for this year in place for next year, and Jim and Karen have said, if you'd like to come, then your deposits will be held until then. We're already making plans and preparations for having the whole group start things off June 17th, 2021 with a visit to the McLennan Ranch and a concert with the Western Spirit Band. We'll have coaches to take you all from our place up the beautiful Sun Peaks for a wonderful alpine experience, and then we all head down to Vancouver. A night in the spectacular Fairmont Waterfront Hotel. Something really special planned for the next morning, and then we board Holland America's Koningsdam for a 7-day cruise up the Inside Passage to Alaska. And there'll be a lot of extra events for our group, including the famous White Pass Rail Tour. For everybody currently booked, there will be complimentary drink packages, complimentary specialty dining for one night, and shipboard gratuities will be paid for each guest. And this is available as well for everyone who books before the end of June this year. We would like to thank all of you who are planning on joining us in July and hope that you can adjust the dates and join us in 2021. We'll keep you informed with the details as they come, and as always, Megan, Jim, and Karen can give you lots of information. 1-800-530-0131.
Now it's time for the Horse Training File, brought to you by Irvine Tack and Western Wear, Canada's largest Western store.
So my good friends at Irvine Tack and Western Wear asked me to reach out and remind you that they're still here to serve you. Just find them on Facebook for updates, and right now buy online at irvins.ca and receive free shipping on orders over $100. Some restrictions apply. The doors are open at Canada's largest Western store, but for now hours are Monday through Saturday 10 to 6, Sunday 11 to 5. Hey, we're all in this together, and we will get through this together because we are Westerners, and that's what we do. Thanks from everyone at Irvine Tack and Western Wear, exit 305 off Highway 2 by Crossfield. Got a call last week from a fellow who was wondering about washing his horse off with a garden hose after a long, hard ride on a hot day. He tried, and his horse was terrified of the garden hose, pulled back, and got away. Oh yeah, and the guy got all wet, too. Well, that's something I try to always do if it's hot. I think it really helps prevent a sore back, and if it's introduced properly, the horses get to really enjoy it. But be careful. Typically, the horse is tied up or held by a person, then approached with a garden hose with water shooting out the end, and the horse is scared and tries to leave, so the person tries to regulate the distance so that the water is hitting and splashing on the ground, and he's dragging the horse around trying to spray his legs. Now, if the horse can't or doesn't move, that flight defense could be exchanged to fight with his feet striking or kicking at the water when it hits his legs. Now, on the other hand, how many horses are afraid of rain on their backs? I think instead of starting on the ground, the feet or the legs, spray the water high in the air so it comes directly onto his back. And the key word being spray, not a pounding stream. And as the horse gets confident with the water falling on his back, then you can reduce or increase the pressure or just work it around slowly on down to his sides and his feet. The thing to remember is not many horses have not experienced rain. Their top line gets wet, the water runs down their legs, and most of the body does get wet. And one more thing, I would advise against tying a horse up to wash him with a hose. I think this could, in some horses, create a pullback reflex. I would much rather hold him by the halter shank so I can move around with him if I have to. And for Irvine Saddles and Western Wear, that's the Horse Training File. Every day at feeding time, our horses know they're going to get that daily feeding of Hoffman's Horse Ration, and they're looking good because of it. You can find out what's in it at hoffmanshorseration.com. In the last segment, Tom Reardon talked about how the great bucking horse Coyote was sold and hauled down to Colorado, and coming up is the story of his surprise return to Canada. But as I listened to Tom tell the story, I could not help but think about this song from one of Ian Tyson's latest albums.
We were up before the sunrise, loading up the horses, we were gone. Across La Vida Pass to that sweet San Luis Valley, rolling on. That's Wolf Creek up ahead, 10,000 feet of mountain, we'll be there by noon. We're hauling Colorado horses down to winter beneath the Arizona moon. Rode straight on through Durango to Four Corners. That old Ford was making ground. We stretched the horses' legs at Tito's Pass and watched that desert sun go down. They'd camp out in the nations, and we listened to the ancestors' tune. We're hauling Colorado horses down a winter beneath the Arizona moon. I called the boss in Wickenburg just to let him know when we'd be rolling in. Fed the horses, fed ourselves, picked some guitar while the firelight grew dim. Then we passed the bottle around and watched the nighttime turn to morning way too soon. We're hauling Colorado horses down a winter beneath the Arizona moon. Sing praises to these horses, they've hauled 1,000 dudes into the hills. They take us to the river, where the voice of Mother Nature won't be still. Well, I ain't no big-time banker, but I know exactly what I should be doing. That's hauling Colorado horses down a winter beneath the Arizona moon. That's hauling Colorado horses down a winter beneath the Arizona moon.
Now that's from one of Ian's latest, and I think maybe one of his finest albums, Carnero Vaquero, Will Dudley's Colorado Horses. So, Coyote was ready to retire from his rodeo career in the U.S., and Tom Reardon picks up the story here.
And after 22 years of bucking, Steve Fexler phoned Dan, and he said, this old boy's career is done. So Dan arranged to get him trucked back up here, and he arrived back in Canada on December 23rd. And he hid him out at the neighbors for a couple of days till Christmas, and then went and smuggled him over into their own barn, and then told his folks they had to come out to the barn to see what Santa had brought for them. And here was this old horse that had left there 22 years earlier, and probably $1 million was won on that horse. They won the $50,000 at Calgary on him and everything else. And he's now retired out on the Black Ranch along Battle Creek there, and what he's done is he plumb quit all the other horses, and he just holds up with the cows, and all spring and everything else, he's with the cows that have the youngest calves. He just loves baby calves. And it's really something to see, like them calves, they'll, how they bunt around and whatnot, looking for something to suck and whatnot. Well, he'll lift a leg and he'll gently push them away. He never kicks them or nothing, but he just loves babysitting.
Man, isn't that some retirement for Coyote?
Yeah.
That's a great story. Tom, thanks a lot for sharing some of this with us.
Well, good to visit with you, Hugh. And enjoy your program.
Well, thank you. We'll have to do some more, dude.
Coming right up, the classic Song of the West for this week, and this one is really rare and surprising. And then it's all about cowboys on the golf course, when the Spirit of the West continues right after this. Welcome back to the Spirit of the West. I am looking right now at the April-May issue of Canadian Cowboy Country magazine. And there's a terrific story on the life of Hank Snow in the Trailblazer segment, written by Fred Houck. Now, there's a lot of fascinating information about Hank that you may not be aware of, and his first few songs featured a lot of yodeling, as he was really inspired by legendary Jimmy Rogers. But after a few years, to quote Fred, Hank's voice deepened and he could no longer yodel. And what I've dug up from way down in the vault here was a recording of Hank Snow doing a cowboy song back when he still could yodel. It's called The Texas Cowboy, and here it is with Hank himself riding in on Shawnee to introduce it.
Whoa there, Pinto. Doggone it, stand still, will you? Howdy there, cowboys. Just thought I'd drop around and see y'all, beans I was riding this way. I got a little song tangled together here I thought you might like to hear. So if I can get the rope on this old guitar around my neck, I'll sing it for you. There. Well, here it is. Was I was born in the Texas state many years ago. I've rode on every range and a plain, there's no place I don't know. I love to swing the lariat, that's all I'll ever do. I'm a rootin' singing cowboy and I've never had the blues. For a hop on my old pinto and o'er the plains we ride. Just swinging in the saddle, my guitar hangs by my side. Old pinto's always willing, as for me I'm never sad. You'll find there beats an honest heart in this old Texas land. I sleep out on the rolling plains, my blanket for a bed, waiting for the break of day to gallop out to the herd. I'll mount my old cow pony, wear my boots and Stetson too, and ride all day on the Texas plains beneath the skies of blue. For a hop on my old pinto and o'er the plains we ride, just rocking in the saddle, my guitar hangs by my side. Old pinto's always willing, as for me I'm never sad. You'll find there beats an honest heart in this old Texas land. Now when my check of life I cash for the land beyond the sky, I'm going to ride old Pinto out across that great divide. I'll ride the last great roundup across the golden plains. Well, boys, I hope you've liked my song. I'm on my way again. Now I'll hop on my old Pinto and o'er the plains we ride. Just swinging in my saddle, my guitar hangs by my side. Old Pinto's always willing, as for me I'm never sad. You'll find there beats an honest heart in this old Texas lad.
I haven't even been able to find out just when that was recorded, but I'm guessing it would have been probably the late 30s or maybe the very early 40s. Well, you know, for years our Cattlemen's Association held an annual golf tournament for ranchers and cattlemen. I never did get to one, but I heard they were a lot of fun. And I did think about it. But I was afraid it might turn out like this. From the Cowboy Poetry Spotlight, here's Mel Brown.
This pretty much sums up most of my rounds at the Hay Brothers Cowboy Golf Tournament. Well, I guess I shouldn't have teed up till the next group moved on a bit, but I didn't think I could whack her that far, so I rears back and lets her rip. Golfers should watch out for themselves, at least that's my belief, and yelling "4" after the ball hit 'em didn't seem to bring 'em much relief. Get that golf cart off the green, and he calls me a damn fool. Greenskeeper's having some kind of breakdown. There sure seems to be a lot of rules. Car at the hole-in-one, a cowboy win it, it's a joke. Dealer's biggest concern's keeping the windows from getting broke, and when you miss a shot, you throw your club. To that we all have stooped. Best golfer ain't necessarily the best ducker. At least he wasn't in our group. The wrecks you see in car racing, they just drive crazily. Bull riding's the most dangerous sport, to that I will agree. They pack football players off the field, but I begun to understand there ain't a sport more dangerous than a cowboy with a golf club in his hand.
Well, thanks again for riding along this week. I appreciate your company so much, and I hope you can join us right here next week when we'll do it all again. And thanks as always to our support crew, Mark and Kathy McMillan. And if you need parts for a tractor, any make, any year, see Mark's page, bctractorparts.com. Thanks again to those of you who've sponsored this old cowboy and next week's kidney walk or ride. And you can find out all about what I'll be doing on our website, hugh-mclennan.com. Till then, I'm Hugh McLennan. Hope to see you down the trail somewhere real soon.